All right, peace. This is Moors in America. Just have a few words gonna share on the movie Barbarian, the new film, new horror movie. It's a pretty big movie. It's doing real well. It was actually a good film, so we're gonna have a quick breakdown. Just recorded it a little earlier today, so y'all check this out. Make sure you hit like and share.
The movie was dope.
Yeah, the movie was pretty good, but anyway, like I said, click like and share. There's gonna be spoilers in here. Sorry, Morse. All right, so you know how we do here. If you don't, this is Morse in America. We don't just talk about the movie. Not just gonna get up here and then they did this. They went through this door. No, we're gonna speak about what's really going on in the movie.
Oh yeah.
So we're going to talk about that.
All the signs and symbols and the message behind the message is like the onion. There's always layers.
Yeah, so we're going to speak on that. Sorry, boys. No, seriously, though, one reason why I wanted to do it is because there's some heavy-hitting stuff in there, and it is going to go right over most people's heads. So wanted to make sure we pointed that out. And here we go. I mean, here it is, Morris. You're listening to the True and Living Light, bringing Moors in America. As always, I'm your brother, Lloyd Douglas, also known as Sharif Ali. Here, we are uncovering and bringing glorious light to all issues pertinent to the Moorish American paradigm, because that's what we do here on this podcast known as Moors in America. So we're not just getting here to talk about a movie, even though we're about to talk about the movie, but we're about to show you the subliminal message that's up in here, all right? So hopefully everybody's having a good evening. And if you wouldn't mind, please share this broadcast on your favorite social media platform. And when we come back, we're going to expand further on this topic. You don't want to miss it. Relax, grab your popcorn, share this. In other words, grab a friend. Don't go anywhere, Morris.
I am not a Negro, Black, colored, African American. I'm a Moorish American. Peace.
Yeah. Hey, 5 on the right, 2 on the left, man. You know what time it is. Yo. We just Moors in America, soared through the shores and endured criminal acts of war on our character. 7 years after the 4th score, no reward. Shout out to the most courageous, they was jumping over barriers. Where does that compare to you? We come from a place where you scared to visit our area. We come from a place where it's scary for good Samaritans. Heavy luggage we carrying, babies having babies. It's crazy being American. Praise the one and only Allah, there's no comparison. La ilaha illa Allah, body and buried gin. Laughing at you clowns like ha-ha, dodging the Nephilim. Conquer lower self with the high, follow your regimen. Way before they came we were gods, and now we specimen. Tried to take the light from our eyes, thank God for Edison. Then they put the wool on our eyes, it's so embarrassing. Now we travel frequently, we should invest in Sheraton. All of us got gold on our bodies whenever we stepping in. Screaming Ramadan, Mubarak, training the flesh again. Wishing we could move as a unit, just like the Mexicans. Dodging all the foods with estrogen, synthetic medicines. All sin isn't devilish. Sometimes the decisions that you make come for a better gift. Sometimes when you sin is to relate to all your brethren. Heavenly gates all in our face, we the champions. We live in the sky, we see the angels on the chariots. Waiting on the $20 bill, face a Harriet. I bet you I'ma carry it. I'm in love with music to the point I wanna marry it. But my love for people is greater, so I write messages. Largest spending power, but we still sit at a deficit. Living amongst prejudice, even at our residence. Moors in America, flourishing, excellent. Let's buy up some neighborhoods and groom our own president. Yeah. And I come to you today with all intentions of spreading love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
right, peace, Moors. Let's get this started. So yeah, like I said, want to speak about this movie. So here how we do. Like we don't just talk about movies unless there's something that I think applies to everybody. So check this out. Okay, so yeah, there's a movie out. If you haven't heard of it, I mean, if you like movies, I would say check it out. It's actually a good movie, right? Barbarian, 2022 American horror film. This came out. You can see they said the budget was 10 million. It's only been out for a few days, and it's already made a profit, 13.4 million in one weekend. So it's doing good. And like I said, it was like surprisingly good, right? Heard some good feedback about it. So we went ahead and checked it out. Basic plot: this lady books a remote home in a rundown neighborhood in Brightmoor while staying in Detroit for a job interview. And then there's this double book. So there's already a guy in there who used a different app. And so there's all this awkward like stuff going on between them because she don't know if he, what's going on. He don't know what's going on. You don't know if he's out to get her. You don't know what's going on, right? And then it turns out they basically got a monster in the basement. It's like crazy, right? Come here. Hang on. Yeah, so Morris, we're going to speak about what's really going on in that movie, all right? Okay, so yeah, just looking at it quickly, right? And like I said, we're gonna go over the movie, and then we're gonna have spoilers. It is what it is. So if you don't want the spoilers and all that, you might want to go, right? So just reading this, things are starting to get out already. Some of the surprises and stuff. If you notice going in, it's not gonna be as surprising. Obviously, that's why they call spoilers. So if you don't want spoilers, why are you here, right? Come back after you've seen it. Okay, so here we go. I'm just gonna read this real quickly, but then I'm gonna give it from my perspective. Okay, so yeah, like I said, this is one of the most surprising studio movies of 2022. This came from Disney's 20th Century Studios, right? One of the first major horror releases of the fall season, right before Halloween. Brief recap: this is a lady. She's Asiatic. Tess. She arrives at her rental home in Detroit, Michigan, the night before a big job interview. I'm sure Airbnb is going to be pissed off, or they already probably pissed off about this movie. But only to discover a man named Keith Bill Skarsgård. He's the dude who plays who plays the Pennywise, the clown, right? And dude's kind of creepy looking, right? For real. Like, no knock to dude, but he kind of creepy looking. Like, and so he's in the house already, like it's double booked. And she's supposed to be staying in there. So they're going back and forth, showing proof that they both booked it. And then it turns out that the agency that this other dude is a third character, he owned it. He used an agency that handled the property. And so somehow it got double booked. Allegedly, these two people both staying in the house. And they got like awkward conversations. They flirting. They start to warm up to each other, right? So this is all what's going on just on the surface level. And then she actually goes to a job interview, and for some reason she comes back to the house, which is like what? Why didn't you just leave? Go get a motel or something, right? She sees some dude, this homeless dude's running at her, talking about don't go in there. And she's all scared. She runs in the house. She called the police. Police unavailable. They don't even come to this neighborhood because this is Brightmoor, Detroit, run down. You're not getting no service out here. She's looking for toilet paper, gets locked in the basement, finds out there's hidden passageway going down there. She sees a room in there. It's disgusting, right? It's got a bed and a bucket. The bucket looks disgusting. It's got a bloody handprint on the wall, and it's got a camera, like an old camcorder set up there. The dude comes back to the house. The other dude who was in there that was double booked, he sees her in the basement, like saying she's stuck. And so he breaks her out. But he tells her he's begging her to stay while he goes into the basement to see what's really going on. Because she's telling him she saw this stuff. He's like, you saw a bed and a bucket You scared, like, let me go check it out. So he goes down there and disappears. And then she goes down there looking for him. And then, like, all hell breaks loose. You know, people start getting killed. And it's crazy. And they find out that there's a woman down there that's, like, all deformed and crazy looking. And the dude who actually owns the property, he's in LA, he's in Hollywood. He comes there to check on his properties because he's in trouble. He got accused of rape. So he's like seeing if he need to sell his properties. And like you can tell there's some shady business going on because the rental company, they're like, nobody's in there. Nobody's staying in there right now. Right? It's unoccupied. So like dude goes up in there and he winds up getting stuck down there too. You find out the female, the Asiatic woman's still alive in there. They being held captive. Right? So it's crazy, right? Because there's this creature, this deformed woman is like got superhuman strength, looking crazy as hell, right? So there's a whole bunch of crazy looking stuff going on in there. And without getting all into all the details, just in case you haven't seen it, so there's still something to see. They wind up, you know, trying to escape and then realizing there's even more to this, like this subterranean tunnels this under the basement, under the house, like go down real far. There's a whole lot going on down there. They show meanwhile in the background they're showing playbacks like from the 80s of like the history behind the house. You see there's an older European dude who, when everybody was leaving Detroit in the 80s, 70s and 80s, everybody was getting up out of there. He's like, nah, I ain't going nowhere. And then they show the dude's really a creep and he's like a serial rapist, you know, getting women, getting them down there, you know, keeping them down there, impregnating them. And so that's where all this stuff came from. This dude's like impregnating women, then impregnating the children, then impregnating the grandchildren. And it's crazy. It's like, it's sick. It's disgusting. They, you know, it's a horror movie. They going through the fights and stuff to try to stay alive. Just to skip to the end. There's an encounter with a dude who owns the property, finds this old dude. He's still alive. And he's just in a room in one of the dark tunnels. He's stuck in this old nasty room. And it's, you could tell because they show the flashbacks that he's an older version of the dude who was getting the women and keeping them down there. Right. And it's disgusting because they got these cages. They got like dog food in them. But like, you can tell this is like where he was keeping the people. So it's crazy. And you can tell that like dude has become trapped in there now. Like as it says here in this breakdown, this guy Frank, who was the one kidnapping the women, used to be able to move around and enact his disturbing behavior on women. He would kidnap and assault, and now he's become a prisoner of his own creation, and then is forced to live in his own hell. Right. So I'm just reading this because this is all symbolic of something else, right? People creating these terrible situations, and now they stuck here too, forced to live in their own hell. Okay, and so this is all this going on like right in front, you know, right in your face. But then there's also something going on beneath the scenes. I want to talk about that. We're going to go ahead and talk about that right now, Morris. All right, so check this out. Make sure you.
All right, peace, Morris.
Disconnected. Waiting for connection.
I don't know what that's about, but
Bluetooth is connected.
today I want to talk to you briefly about a movie that I just watched. So me and the Moabites went and saw a movie, a scary movie called Barbarian yesterday. And wanted to share this with you because obviously, man, if you're really tuned in, you already know just right off bat that name should jump out to you, right? Barbarian, the Barbary Moors, the Barbary states, the Barbary pirates, right? Talking about Moors. So anyway, the movie's called Barbarian. And before you watch this, if you like don't want any spoilers, right? You haven't seen it, you might want to tune out right now because it's going to be spoilers. It's basically just going to give you a synopsis of the movie. What's really being said, I guess you could say the subliminal messages in the movie, and gonna be giving some spoilers away. Okay, so it's called Barbarian, and The movie is about a couple of characters, with the main character being a woman, an Asiatic woman, who go to an Airbnb in a rundown neighborhood in Detroit where there's a lot of abandoned houses, and they wind up finding out that there's more than meets the eye to the house. There's some secret chambers in there. People were being held there against their will and killed, okay? And so that's the basics of it. People have no idea what they're getting into coming to this Airbnb, right? So, and just briefly, like just real brief, you got the woman. It starts off with the woman. She's coming to this Airbnb. It's late at night. It's raining. Like, she's obviously in a rush. She's trying to open the box to get the key out so that she can open the door. And she finally gets the box open. The key's not in there. Sees a light come on. There's a guy in the Airbnb already. It's a house. It's a house in this neighborhood, right? And it's so dark you can't really see what's going on in the neighborhood. And there's a guy staying in there already, but she had the Airbnb. And so the guy opens the door. He, is talking to her. She's showing him her reservation on the email. He's like, okay, that's crazy, but I rented this too. And they come in and talk and trying to figure out what they're gonna do, because he's like showing her his phone too, how he's got a reservation there, right? He's a European dude, okay? And so that's the basics of it. Like, she doesn't really know what's going on. He doesn't either. There's a whole play where you don't know if this guy's sinister or not, right? And so the guy, the European dude, he's an actor. He's the same dude who plays Pennywise in the It movies, the Stephen King film It. And like, he's kind of creepy looking. Like, you don't know what he's up to, right? And so he's playing like he's a nice guy, but you don't know. And so that's like the whole play of the the interaction between him and her. But this isn't what it's really about. We want to talk about what's really going on. So in the movie, all right, first off, the film is called Barbarian. And like I said, if you're already tuned in, you already know Barbarian, Barbary, the Barbary states were Tunis, Algiers, Tripoli, Morocco. All right, we're talking about Barbary, Berbers, we're talking about Moors, right? And that's why, from an etymological perspective, the word Barbary, Berber, they're tied together, right? So Barbary, Berber, we're talking about Moors. So the movie's called Barbarians. And the neighborhood that they're in, which they mention a couple times in the movie, is Brightmoor. Brightmoor, if you go and look that up on Google, for those not from Detroit, you see that Brightmoor is a neighborhood in Detroit. And now, like, the population dropped just over like 30, 40 years down to less than half of what it used to be. So it used to be like 20 something, maybe almost 30,000 people living there. Now it's like 11,000. So significant drop in population, and that left a bunch of abandoned homes and abandoned businesses. So you got a lot of rundown areas in this neighborhood, and abandoned, straight up abandoned. And then over 40 years, 30 years, like, houses start getting holes in them, buildings start, falling apart. When drugs, the crack era, you had all types of things going on. It was a terrible place. It could be a really scary place where, pretty much anything goes, like, it's lawless. And then, of course, people squatting in the homes. And then just like you had, like, in that area, in that neighborhood, Brightmoor, you had people just selling drugs just out in the open, because it's like, no police, ain't nobody out here, ain't nothing, to worry about. They can do whatever they want. So this is a dangerous place, right? And so anyway, but getting back to it, it's a real neighborhood. Matter of fact, that Don't Breathe movie, the other movie where there's a guy who's like, the dude is blind. He was keeping people in his basement and like impregnating them, right? So this is like another, I guess you could say, thriller filmed in that area. They took advantage of that whole, situation with Brightmoor being this area that's abandoned, that's dangerous. So this is where the lady gets the Airbnb, right? So why is this taking place in Brightmoor? All right, and then to to give you the story so that you can understand. Like, so when I explain what's really going on, so it makes sense. You have almost like a monster, a creature that's living there, right? It's a human. There's a backstory that they give you. Some dude in the 80s that used to own this house, right? He's like a serial killer. He's a maniac. He's like kidnapping women, keeping them down in the dungeons, like beneath the house, underneath the basement. There's like secret components, right? They go further underground. He's keeping women down there and impregnating them, right? And eventually he never left. He stayed there. So they show his neighbor, like in the 80s, talking to him like, oh, I'm about to sell, we're getting out of here, right? He's like, nah, I'm not going anywhere. So the dude winds up eventually never leaving the house. This is the story that the lady, the main character, learns later on. There's like a homeless guy who's an Asiatic man who's telling her the whole story, right? He's like, that guy never left the house. And he was kidnapping women and impregnating them, all right? And well, to get back to that, this same Asiatic man who was like, he lived in Brightmoor, he lived in the neighborhood. He's telling her how this guy who was doing that to these women, he started to impregnate the women, and then he would impregnate the children, and then impregnate the grandchildren. So they're extremely, inbred, right? Severe inbreeding going on. They're severely deformed. And it's just having issues because you can't have like the gene pool that small, right? You're not supposed to do that, obviously, right? So this is what's the backstory for this monster now that they find, like the female and the European dude that are in there. The European dude winds up getting killed, right? And he gets killed by this woman that's living down there, and it's like, basically she's like a monster. She's got superhuman strength. She's deformed. She can't leave the house in the daytime, right? She can only come out at night. That's why they're down in the dungeons beneath the house. And the European dude who was kidnapping the women, he's down there too, but he's dying. He's just like laying on the bed dying. Okay? And so these are the dynamics of the story, like for the most part. You've got this situation going on. These people come to the Airbnb, they don't even realize it. They're in there, and they have some chemistry going on, her and the guy before he gets killed. They got things in common, they're talking, and she's starting to trust him, and then boom, he dies. There's another guy who actually owns the house, right? There's another dynamic there too. There's a guy who owns the house. They show he's like working in Hollywood, a producer. He just gets some terrible news that he's up for rape charges, right? Somebody's accusing him of rape. He's going back to Detroit to potentially sell this property, right? Because they mentioned he's got properties in Michigan. So he owns this. It's revealed he owns this Airbnb. He comes in, he winds up going down in the basement, getting captured too. Okay, and so now, some of you may have already figured this out. What's really going on here? Why are they making this big time movie? So when you look at this, right, you got the neighborhood Brightmoor, right? And it's called Barbarians. Obviously, this is about the Moors. Obviously. All right. And what you really see here is like on two levels. Like on one level, you have the historical story of what happened in Europe. All right, from 711 to 1491, the Moors ruled Europe, and in ruling Europe, all right, with the home base in Southern Europe in Spain, there was a huge infusion of Moorish blood into the European tribes. Why? Because the Moors were having like European concubines. And some Moors, the more powerful they were, some of them had hundreds of concubines. And so they're putting their seed into all of these women. And that's why then when you go to southern Italy, Europe, like Italy, Greece, Spain, the people in that area have a stronger influence, I guess Moorish influence. It's particularly apparent, like in their appearance, like in their bloodline. Like you see the darker hair, maybe tan skin tone, and you'll see that. But that infusion though went throughout Europe because the Moors didn't just stay in that area, right? So you had for almost 800 years this occurring with Moors impregnating European women, having European concubines. So Europe got this huge infusion of what you would call African blood, the Moors putting their blood back into their bloodline, right? Okay, and so this occurred. This really occurred in real life. And this is now, well, what I would say now, you see that story being retold, which actually happened in the past, not too long ago. But then it's also telling you on another level that this is what's needed right now. We need that infusion of the blood. And that's why you see so many things promoting interracial relationships. All right? And if you look at what the Nation of Islam taught, what did they tell you about the so-called caveman, the European, that they were going out, like you may have seen the things with the cavemen going out and clubbing the women over the head, dragging them by their hair, right? In reality, like this is what the Nation of Islam would teach, that they were going and they were getting women, going into the Garden of Eden, right? Because they were kicked out of the Garden of Eden. So they were going in there, kidnapping Asiatic women and bringing them back into the Caucasus Mountains to impregnate them, right? Because they needed that bloodline. They needed that. They were getting weaker. And so what was happening was they were devolving. So in the Caucasus Mountains, you had people who were really living in caves, for real. This caveman story, it's not completely false. It's not all of our history, but there was a segment of the human population that was living like cavemen, for real. So they were living in caves, whether it was subterranean, going underground, or just, living in caves or in the mountains. And they were devolving, right? Because this is what naturally happens also when you have a small gene pool to pull from. And when you have inbreeding going on, especially over generations of inbreeding, right? You're devolving, and you're going to have savagery, all types of things taking place. So this really happened. And when the Moors came through and infused the Europeans with their bloodline, right? Now they're coming out of the caves. Now they're able to be out in the sunlight, right? The sun's not bothering them. There was even a scene in the movie where the Asiatic woman is escaping from the basement, and there's like a little window that is above ground, and she gets out of that window, and there's the lady who lives down there is trying to grab her, right? It was daytime, so she went back into the basement. Instead of trying to grab the lady or come out and fight, she went back into the basement, and she couldn't come out because the sun was out. All right. And so in the past, this actually occurred. And so this movie is subliminally letting it be known, like, we need that bloodline again. And this is why you have this scenario where the Asiatic woman and the European man are set up to breed, right? They both wind up in the Airbnb in Brightmoor together, right? In Brightmoor, right? The land of the Moors. So they're there, put in this situation together so that they can breed. Bottom line. Because why? Because we need your bloodline. All right? And then you had a whole nother dynamic too, because in the movie they show the Asiatic woman and one of the guy who owned the property. They were trapped. They were being held in a cage down in the subterranean level, and the woman, this deformed monster woman, she's trying to get them to drink from a baby bottle. She wants them to see her as the mother, like the mother figure, right? The great mother. She wants them to accept her and see her as that, right? And it's like she's, in the movie perspective, it's like she's so deformed and messed up, like mentally, she can't even really talk, right? She's just like, she speaks like a baby, right? And she's handing them this big, disgusting looking bottle, trying to get them to drink from it, you know, and it's just showing like how all of this stuff is coming down. The Great Mother is coming down. You know, the Queen of England is dead, right? Is dead. And a lot of people, a lot of regular people all over the world don't look to them and see them as this great royal family. A lot of people are starting to see the corruption and even starting to see that she's not all she was cracked up to be, meaning the Queen of England, right? There's still a lot of people that don't know any better, but all of that stuff is starting to be exposed. So people aren't even starting to look at them as that anymore. Okay, and you even saw that in the movie. Like the Asiatic woman, she's drinking from the bottle. She's trying to survive. She don't want her to kill her. She's telling the dude like, don't make her upset, you know, right? And the dude, like, he's European. He's like, man, forget this. I ain't drinking that. You know, he don't care. He ain't going. But anyway, what I was saying was though that all of that stuff is coming down. It's not working anymore. Nobody sees you in that light anymore. And at the end of the movie, at the end of the day, the Asiatic woman winds up killing this woman, this creature, right? She winds up shooting her, putting her down. It shows though that at the end of the day, like the European dude, the dude who owned the property, he was all about himself. It was implied that he had rape charges against him. And in the movie, he's having a conversation with his friend at the bar. His friend's just like, come on, just tell me. You know, I'm your boy. You know, I want to know from your own words, like, what happened? He implies that he pretty much did it. He raped the woman. He's like, look, man, did she say no? Yeah, she said no a couple times. But, you know, I'm persistent. And he implied that she took some drug or something. And that's when he did it, right? So it's shown that he's a jerk. He's a self-serving. He even he throws the Asiatic woman off of the top of a building. Like, they're on the top of this structure, and he throws her off to try to save himself, right? Which at the end of the day, he winds up getting killed, and so does this monster lady creature, right? Now, when the movie was over, it was funny because there was a European couple in front of us, and like when the movie's over, you know, we're all getting up, and the dude gets up and he's like, man, that movie sucked, right? And my wife's like, yeah, was this movie really bad? I'm like, nah, it wasn't bad. It was, you know, it was a well-made movie. But I was like, he's gonna say that. Of course he is, because like, look at who survived. The Asiatic woman survived. Both of the European dudes died. Both of them were killed. One of them was a straight-up creep, you know, a rapist. He was a dirtbag. He was a coward. You know, he was a bad person, right? One of them was a straight up creep. Like, he didn't have any redeeming qualities about him, you know? And so all of the European dudes, they were all either straight up the bad guys, like the dude, the old dude who they show in the 80s who started this mess, kidnapping women and doing this terrible stuff, who started all of it. He was a bad guy, right? He got killed too. He killed himself, right? So he was down there in the dungeons. He was horrible. And then on top of that, you know, like all the other ones died. So, you know, of course he's gonna think that, right? There was no good European heroes in there. So yeah, he's gonna feel like that. But you know, just going back to it though, the movie though, what they're telling you subliminally, and if you ask me, I say overtly, like they're outright telling you. But I know this message, like most people are not, the vast majority of people is not going to see this when they see that movie. So this is the subliminal message, is that we need that bloodline. We need it. We need it badly. Like, everything's falling apart. And we need another infusion of blood. And so at the end of the day, when you see that, and then you see what's going on, you know, this is what's really going on. This is why the interracial relationships are promoted so much, and not knocking anyone in any interracial relationships, just keeping it real. That's why it's being promoted, right? Because at the end of the day, it's understood amongst those in the know that they got to go through us, okay? And that's why the people in leadership, at the end of the day, they have to be Muslim sons. They have to pretend to be us, even just to be in a position to rule, period. even though we don't know that they're pretending to be us, that's what has to occur, because the Moors rule all of this. All right, and so just wanted to share that. It was a good movie though. It was cool, but yeah, it was some heavy stuff going on there, and you know, that's for the most part that's what I saw. And y'all feel free to share anything in the comments though, anything you saw. If you saw something differently, or maybe something that we didn't cover, feel free, and make sure y'all hit like and share. Peace and love. All right, peace, Morris. Let me speak on that real quick too, because I had said something about those who rule all have to be Muslim sons. Not speaking ill on anyone, or you know, any other groups out there, anybody doing their thing, but just keeping it real, right? The people who rule have to sit in the place of the Moors, basically they're custodians, right? And if you're not going to be who you are, somebody else will step up and do it. Okay? So there's really no reason for us not to be who we truly are. All right. And then if you go through and look at these list of people listed here, you know, some of them might be people in power and positions. Back in the past, this is obviously old. You might not even be able to look up information on some of these people in here. This is from 1922, San Francisco Examiner. But if you look at people that are in power today, right now, you'll find that many of these people are, you know, Muslim sons in secret. Not that it's something that they hide in shame. It's just that they don't tell you about it or what it really means. And if you ask, they're really not going to tell you, because if you're asking, that means you don't know. So you have to truly be a Moor in order to even get an intelligent response. Now, I saw something in the chat, though. A question was asked. I want to speak on that real briefly because it ties into this discussion on this film. So in this Barbarian film, it's called Barbarian. We spoke about how anytime you see that Barbarian, you know it's speaking about us. The film just happens to take place in Brightmoor, Detroit. And we showed you in here how it's a play off of what occurred in the past with the Moors coming through and fusing them with the bloodline. All right. Living in devolved situations, devolved conditions, right, in the caves, or just living in the dark ages, right, needing that infusion of that blood. And so it's being told that this is needed from these same people in modern day and times, all right, in the modern times. And there was a question in here, like, speaking about I think I had mentioned the Queen of England, and they were dying, and there was a question saying, how are we going to deal with Charles, right? Because now Prince Charles is now King Charles, right? Okay, but what's going on, whether people realize it or not, is that all of these people are being exposed. It's all coming out. They're all being exposed for who they truly are. And some of these things are taking place subliminally, but over time, these things will be played out in front of everyone. Eventually, everyone's going to find out about Joe Biden and how his son, Hunter Biden, the rumors about him having this laptop and all of these things, it's all going to come out. People are going to see it, that it's real. Okay? And to go back to that thing with the Prince Charles and them, right? This fake royal family. There was a movie that just came out earlier. Let's see, August 26th. So it just came out, called The Invitation. And if you see the previews for it, it looks like you got this Asiatic woman who just happens to look like that one lady, Meghan, right? Meghan, that married one of the princes, one of the Prince of England. Like, I don't know, Prince Harry or whatever the other dude's name is. One of them. She married one of them, right? And she's Meghan Markle. She's from here, right? So the star of that film just happens to look like her. It's called The Invitation. I'm going to get back to that in a second. But all you got to do is type in her name and watch this. Boom. Don't even have to finish it. Because a lot of people look this up. They look up that actress and Meghan Markle. Why? Because they look alike. Okay? And so they'll tell you, oh, this is just a coincidence. It's just a coincidence. No, it's not a coincidence. This lady who in the film is like, I guess, an American who finds out she's, you know, I guess got some bloodline or something ties to these people in England that are rich, right? And she gets the invitation, right? So the film, like the family in there, they're vampires. They're not what they seem to be, right? So I haven't seen this film yet, but I mean, you could just tell from the trailers what it's all about, right? She's got this guy, over here trying to woo her or whatever, and she finds out they're all vampires. They're not what they seem to be, and so this is being told to you out in the open, right? And then what did they need her for? They need that infusion of that blood. And it's being told to you in another way. So it's not a coincidence. They'll tell you it is. This is the actress, and then this is the one who she was an actress too, who married the Prince of England. Right? So on the left you got her. So it's not a coincidence that they resemble each other. They both look like they're, mixed. They both, she could almost play her, right? Like they more than just resemble each other. It's not a coincidence. Okay, so they got her to play her in the movie. I guess she addressed it on Twitter talking about, I do not look like her. They're both biracial, right? They're both light-skinned black women. Okay, so this is being told to you, but it's not. So when you see it, it's just in your head, like subliminally, you're getting it. You're getting the message, or at least what they want you to get. Okay, so I mean, they gave away so much just in the trailer. You already know she gets there. These people, they're living in, mansions, and they're really monsters. Okay, they're really monsters. It's not all it's cracked up to be, but they need that bloodline for some reason. They need us. There's a video that was circulating on the internet where this guy, who's I guess rich European dude, and he owns a cloning company, or I guess you could say like gene splicing company, right? And he's sitting here with, like it says here, black women. He's sitting here with some Asiatic women at a table, telling them that you have the monopoly on genetic perfection, and we want some of that. That's what he says. He says, we want some of that. And he's like telling them he'll give them like $200 or $300 for their eggs. Okay. And he's speaking about it like real smugly, like, you've got this and we need it. We want it. Okay. He's telling them this. And they're sitting there. Some of them even look like they're a little uncomfortable about it. Right. But, this was circulating. I don't know who recorded it, but these two European dudes, they actually own a company that does like gene splicing and all that. So it seems like, it seems like a joke. Maybe they're even taking it as a joke. Maybe even they see it as a compliment. But in reality, like, nah, this is like literally what's going on. Okay. And so this is why we see that in the movies. This is why you see that in Barbarian, that movie that was just up here, the Invitation. It's just blatantly like, look, we need that infusion. We need that DNA. We need the eggs. We need the womb. We need all of that. And they're letting it be known. Just the fact that these guys came out and had this discussion, that was being recorded. Like maybe they recorded on purpose. This looked like it came from a phone, but maybe they did this on camera. It's because they're desperate. They're coming out here like this because it's the end. It's over. It's really over. So saying that, going back to the fake royal family and all that, it's over. All right. Just the fact that they out here, sitting here talking about, yeah, we give you a couple $100 for your eggs, and we want some of your genetic perfection, right? They're putting it out there. They're letting it be known. They've been doing it in the movie subliminally, but now it's to the point where even the subliminal message is kind of obvious, right? Everybody can see that. So that's really what this is about. Just pointing it out so that you see it, because when you see it, the trickery doesn't work. The messages are subliminal, because if you're not on edge, if you're just having fun, enjoying the movie, it goes straight to your subliminal. Excuse me, straight to your subconscious mind. But this is just pointing it out to you so that you know what's really going on, and that's it. You got something you wanted to say?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to add that, like, it's funny how these rituals play out, and these, you know, these movies with all of these symbolisms, and you know, with Elizabeth, you know, dying and all that stuff. Like, it's during a full moon cycle, right? And this is called the harvest moon, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And next full moon is called the hunter's moon, right? But then it's right now is during the retrograde, the Mercury retrograde, right? So, you know, like, all that stuff that's going on, because as above, also below. And the people who's in the know use this energy that's happening, this unseen, potent energy. They use it for their agendas and for their power, you know, to increase whatever, like to push whatever they want to happen. And they know what they're doing. And they're doing it all in our faces, right? So if you're walking around with your eyes shut, you know, and you don't know what's going on, you better believe somebody is using your energy. You better believe they're using that energy, you know, to push their agendas. So definitely study self. Definitely understand what's happening around you all the time. Definitely be on guard. You know, it's not to be scared. We're not pushing fear. We're pushing awareness. You know, be aware and stand on your principles, Moors. Because we live in love, true, peace, freedom, and justice. And as long as we are in alignment with the Most High, we good. We good. They could try whatever they want, and they not harvesting us, right? And our jobs is to sound the alarms, to teach our children, to let our loved ones know, the ones who are on board, you know, let them do it, you know, let them study on their pace. Because always remember, you can't push this stuff on regular people. You're either going to piss them off, they're going to call you crazy, right? You have to meet people where they are, but always be your truth, because your truth is eventually going to shine bright, and other people are going to see that light and follow it when they're ready. So just that's all I gotta say. Just live your truth and be Moors. Don't be out here following behind the gods, the gods of Europe and the gods of everybody else, because we have our own God, and we know the place we could find our God is in our hearts. That means you got to know who you are so that you can access your greatest power that's within you and live your truth. So more just be aware, you know, keep your eyes open, sharpen your swords, because it's always somebody grabbing at you. Always. The ads, the billboards, everything is always trying to get your attention so that they can feed off of your power. It's time for us to harvest our own power and rise up to our greatness. Islam?
All right, Islam, peace and love, everybody. Make sure you subscribe and also check out our website, www.moorsinamerica.com. Also, check out the Patreon. It's just patreon.com/moorsinamerica. We also have the audio podcast on anchor.fm, Moorish-Americans, anchor.fm/Moorish-Americans. You can also find our group on Facebook, Moors in America group, as well as the page on Facebook, Moors in America. Also, Moors in America on Instagram and also on Twitter. Make sure you tell everybody about the channel and subscribe. If you want to, you can send money on Cash App to a donation to support the platform. And also, like I said earlier, we're on Patreon. And that song, Moors in America, was made by the brother Sean Bay, right out of Central Ohio. And on that note, we out, Moors. Peace and love.